Hello, everyone. My name is Estefania Gomez Garcia, and I'm representing our group number 238. And today we are presenting our theory analysis report, which corresponds to Annex 2. Our topic focuses on a very common issue in foreign language learning, especially in online environments. That is limited vocabulary retention and recall in virtual English classes. Through our observation and the analysis of several learning theories, we identified that many students struggle to remember and use new vocabulary when they participate in virtual sessions. Even when teachers teach new words, students often forget them quickly, or they hesitate to speak because they are not confident. This report was developed collaboratively. Each group member contributed with observations, theoretical analysis, and suggestions for improvement. Together, we connected what we observed in a real virtual English session with well known theories such as Krashen's input and affective filter hypothesis, Vygotsky's sociocultural theory, and Smith's noticing hypothesis. This topic is important because vocabulary is the foundation of communication. If students cannot recall vocabulary, they can't express their ideas and their learning progress slows down. Our purpose is to understand why this happens and how teachers can support students better in virtual learning environments. So we hope this presentation help us to reflect on how to improve vocabulary teaching and learning, especially in online classes. Okay, thank you, and let's begin.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Ramirez. We selected education problem, a limited vocabulary retention in virtual class. Um, a student struggle to remember and use new words, especially online with distractions. We show him this problem because common in virtual class because yeah, is still distracted virtual class. And there is a lack of face-to-face interaction. That helps with vocabulary retention. Okay.
In this table, theories overview appears three different theories. I'm going to talk about the first theory, input and affective filter hypothesis. His, his proponent is Stephen Krashen. The key concepts are input hypothesis, learning acquire language when exposed to comprehensive input slightly above their level. Affective filter hypothesis. Emotional factors such as anxiety and low confidence can block acquisition. The instructional implications are provide meaningful input in context, stories, role plays, videos, and reduce stress with supportive activities. Encourage participation with positive reinforcement and avoid over corrections.
Now I will explain the second theory from our analysis, sociocultural theory proposed by Lev Vygotsky. This theory says that we learn better when we interact with others, classmates, teachers, or anyone who can support our learning process. It also introduces the idea of the zone of proximal development, which means that students can do more with help than alone. In language learning, this theory highlights that vocabulary is not just something we memorize. We really learn vocabulary when we use it, when we speak, when we collaborate, when we communicate with others. During the virtual class we observed, we noticed something important. Students had few opportunities to interact. Most answers were individual, and some students were silent. According to Vygotsky, when students don't participate socially, they don't build confidence and they don't consolidate vocabulary, so they forgot words easily. Therefore, sociocultural theory helps us see the real issue. The problem is not only remembering new words, the problem is not having enough social use of the vocabulary. So, teachers could improve virtual English classes by including pair discussions, group tasks, interactive games, and more communication between students. In conclusion, sociocultural theory reminds us that we learn language by using it together. The more students speak and support each other, the better they retain vocabulary.
The nothing is phonetics explain the people learning a language better when they pay attention to the word grammar and expressions they hear or read. When a student notices something new, their brain starts to understand and remember it. Nothing helps you become more aware of the how the language works, so we can use the correctly when speaking or reading in the way paying attention is a key part of the learning English. Thank you.
Okay. Application to observed session. Observed class session 3, level A2, vocabulary for daily activities, observations. Uh, First, behavior is repetition helped, but retention was weak. Crashing input was descontextualized, sorry. Sociocultural, little peer collaboration. Okay, we consider more collaboration and participation are needed. Continuous interaction really helps a lot more as it effective communicated and mutual learning. It's better than just repeat words. Okay.
Now I will present the problematization of our observation. During the virtual English class, we noticed a recurring issue. Students had difficulty recalling vocabulary, especially when answering open questions or producing short sentences. This problem affected most students, not just a few. When teacher asked questions that required using previous vocabulary, many learners hesitated, stayed silent, or used Spanish instead. We identified several possible causes. First, the activities were quite fast paced, so students didn't have time to process and retain the words. Also, many students seem to have a fear of making mistakes, which limited participation. And finally, the class offered little scaffolding, meaning fewer supports like repetition, visual or group participate or interaction. All these factors together made vocabulary learning temporary. Students could repeat words during the activity, but then a few minutes later, they could not remember them. So, this problem is not simply about memorization. It is deeply connected to how the learning process happens, how students feel, how they interact, and how much support they receive while learning new language. That is why we selected this issue for our theoretical analysis. Understanding the causes allowed us to choose the most relevant learning theories and propose strategies to improve vocabulary retention and recall in virtual English classes.
Conclusions and reflection. Learned theories have analyzed problems and design strategies. Most useful theory, Krashen, sociocultural theory, as future teachers, created interactive support and collaborative environments. And other uh, is we needed the use of keywords is very useful. For example, how do you see it? How do you say? Sorry, um, is very good to interact in class. Um, in improvements suggested. Okay, include more interactive activities, use games, role plays, or pay work so students can practice vocabulary in real context. Provide clear and support feedback. High correction slowly with examples. Eh, Guide student more processing time and avoid rushing through activities. Allow them time to think, recall, and respond. Okay, no is a race, slow. Um, bueno, okay. This is slide suggests more interactive, supportive, and collaborative to improve learning. Okay, thank you for all. Goodbye.
The ideal improvement subject shall go way to make learning better, where teachers use gaming and fun activities. Students enjoy the class learning more, giving learning and keen feedback. Help students feel safe and not afraid of mistake, giving them more in the more time to get help, then you understand better. Working together, the classmate maker, learning users in more learning. The ideal rhythm use that learning is better when students feel happy, supported, and confident.
To conclude, language learning is not just about memorizing vocabulary or grammar. It is mainly about communication. Teachers should create a space where students feel comfortable and confident to participate without fear of making mistakes. Also, collaboration and feedback help students improve and remember what they learn. Working together builds confidence and keeps motivation high. Every learning experience expands not only language skills, but also our way of seeing the world. As Ludwig said, the limits of my language mean the limits of my world. The more language we learn, the more possibilities and connections we can make. Thank you.
I'm going to give my answer of three questions based on the educational problem that me and my group analyzed. The first question is, what innovative English learning activity would you propose to address the problem? I will propose a digital vocabulary escape room. This is a fun activity that will help students improve their vocabulary retention. The second question is, what digital tools or resource would you use for this activity? I would say one tool and one app, which are Genially and Duolingo. Genially to make and solve the previous activity, and Duolingo to reinforce the basic of English. And the last question is, how would you assess the impact of this activity on language learning? And I will assess it with a very good impact. Based on my experience, this kind of activity helps a lot in the understanding of the
I'm going to
students.
answer the three questions. 8. What innovative English learning activity would you propose to address the problem? So, I will propose an interactive online game where students practice vocabulary and grammar. Through fun changes and the three works, the activity makes learning more engage and help students use English the real situation. B. What digital tools or will they use for the activity? I will use code quizzes and word walls because they are easy. They use make learning fun with colorful visuals, the instant feedback. See, will you assess the impact of this activity on language learning? So I will assess the impact by comparing students' result before and after the activity, and by observing the participation in conferences with speaking and reading in English. Thank you.
Uh, what innovative English learning activity would you propose to address the problem? Okay, the students created a perform short essence based on real life situations, uh, like ordering food, uh, solving a problem, or doing a job interview this activity. What digital tools or resource will you use for this activity? Mm, Digital tools, okay. YouTube for watch uh, interviews, for example, in CNN in English, for use this example for interview, and Microsoft Teams for recording at this activity uh, and feedback. Next, okay, and use AIs, for example, Copilot for speaking and listening with these these tools. Okay, how will you assess the impact of this activity on language learning? Mm, Recording analysis. This is a review this activity, performance to track improvements in pronunciation, intonation, and grammar use. Uh, this is uh, the this this is activity.
Now I'm going to share my proposal to help improve vocabulary retention in virtual English classes. The first question is, what innovative English learning activity would you propose to address the problem? Well, I would like to propose an activity called Vocabulary Missions Challenge. It's a fun and meaningful strategy where students complete a series of missions using the new vocabulary in real life situations. For example, they can create short dialogues, describe objects they have at home, label pictures, or participate in a vocabulary scavenger hunt. The idea is that they don't just repeat the words, but actually use them, interact with each other, and feel motivated while learning. This activity helps students remember vocabulary because they connect it with experiences, not only memorization. And the second question is, what digital tools or resources will you use for this activity? Okay, to make the missions more engaging and interactive, I would include Genially to design the interactive missions, Quizlet to practice vocabulary through games and flashcards, Google Docs or Jamboard for collaborative tasks and mind maps, and Kahoot for reviews and friendly competition. I think these tools keep students active, focused, and excited to use English. And the last question is, how will you assess the impact of this activity of language learning? I would evaluate the progress through different types of assessment. First, a pre and post quiz to measure vocabulary recall. Second, I would observe how students use the new words in their speaking and writing. Third, they would complete a short self assessment to reflect on their learning and confidence. And finally, I would provide constructive feedback and celebrate their improvement. This way, we can really see if the activity is working not only in scores, but in their communication skills. Okay, thank you very much for listening. I hope you like these proposals and that they can help us create more effective and enjoyable English learning experiences in virtual environment. See you next time.